Hold on, just double checking, making sure it's all working. Okay, it says we're live. All right.
Nice.
Okay, well, as people are starting to roll in, but we're recording this for prosperity. Travis, my man, you and I have been talking on Twitter for the longest time. And for everybody who's coming in, this is Jeff the Iron Wolf's channel. We're going to talk today about The Last Jedi and some tactics that, well, didn't really work according to the both of us. Now, I know you guys, Travis.
What do you mean, the lack of tactics?
Exactly. But please, introduce yourself to the channel.
Hey, I'm Travis, former U.S. Army Abrams tanker. Served from 89 to 97 in combat zones from Saudi Arabia into Somalia, Kosovo, and Haiti.
Oh, wow. So you've been around the world a bit and done some stuff.
You know, I was very lucky. I ended up in the cultural exchange program there in the 90s. So I got to spend about 6 months with the Egyptians, the Israelis, the Saudis. I bounced around. So I got an opportunity to be a tanker for a lot of people.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, just to give you my background, I'm not a tanker. Closest I ever did was I was for a mobile electronic warfare support system. We were in LAV-25. I helped test what was going to be an upgrade program, but it ended up didn't working. So, but my trade is signals intelligence. I was basically, if you ever saw us, we were the guys who in a Humvee had about 15 antennas coming out, all doing different things.
Oh yeah, I love the. I got an opportunity to test drive an LAV-25. I liked it. I'll actually take that over the Striker any day.
Oh, it's a superior vehicle. The first time I ever saw a Striker, I was on retired Bellows Air Force Base in Hawaii, because that's where I was stationed. My first part of my tour was Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And I saw a Striker coming up. I was like, that looks like an LAV-25, but it looks all wrong. And then I realized it was a Striker.
Yeah. It's sad. My regimental affiliation is 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment. That was a unit I served with during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. They gave up their Abrams and went to Striker, so they're not even considered an armored cavalry regiment any longer. They're a Striker cavalry regiment.
That sucks.
Cringe. It's like you need your Abrams now. I don't have an issue with losing the Bradley, but how can you get rid of your Abrams and call yourself a cavalry unit?
No kidding. All right. Well, my home unit was, well, it was 1st Radio Battalion, Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And then in 2004, they took 1st Radio Battalion, redesignated 3rd, and moved 1st to Camp Pendleton and put 1 Radio Battalion with every single Marine Expeditionary Force. So then I transferred from Hawaii to California. My only 2 things that I really did was let's see, I did RIMPAC 2004, trained with the Australians, and then deployed 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit in 2005. Just floated around the Gulf, sat in Camp Beering, Kuwait for 12 weeks.
Yeah, we were one of the first / last units to deploy from 7th Corps in Germany to Saudi Arabia. By the time we actually disembarked, they'd run out of tan paint. You know, so the running joke was, look, we'll go in and woodland camouflage and show Saddam Hussein we came all the way from Germany to kick his ass. So, you know, that was our.
That's pretty cool. Oh, so what rank did you make it to?
I left the Army as an E6. I was a tank commander.
Oh, you're staff sergeant. Yeah, I left the Marine Corps as an E4, busted my knee.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah, well, I won't talk about the number of times I busted rank, but, you know.
But anyways, we're not here to talk about our reminisce about our days in the military. We're here to talk about The Last Jedi and just the startling amount of bad tactics on both sides, the horrible leadership. I mean,
and and it's so blatantly obvious. This has been one of my biggest issues. From the minute I sat in that theater, just how angry I was at the display. I mean, let's take the first battle.
Yeah, here.
You know, you've got.
I'll break it down for you. Look, I'll break it down, and I'll even do you one better. Like the opening when the First Order jumps in. This is how stupid it was to me, and I'll even put it in a tanker part for you because the Dreadnought, which I would consider a 155 millimeter self-propelled howitzer, is out front by itself. And all the Star Destroyers, which I would consider M1 Abrams, are like a mile behind it, and the enemy's a mile away from that 155.
Okay, well then let's talk target priority. So the Dreadnought jumps in, all the ships are evacuating, and what is the Dreadnought target? But the empty base.
Exactly. Shoot the capital ships. The base ain't going nowhere.
Hit the transports. Yeah, the capital ships are waiting for the transports to load. They're sitting there, stationary targets. Let's destroy the base that we've already seen has been evacuated.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have Poe come up to the Dreadnought, and Hux does that dumbass monologue. Now, I get the point of their on the screen. Sometimes you just have to do monologues that breaks the military thing, but even his monologue, you're just sitting there going, could this guy be any dumber?
So what is the most important thing a leader should do for their troops? But inspire them, right?
Yeah, it's be inspiring. Be the leader is supposed to be the focal point of that team, and everything is based off their decision to go forward and do the mission.
So to lead and inspire your team, you've got to be strong and you've got to show strength. What does Hux do the minute Poe in a single X-wing does? He acts like an idiot, like it's a Sprint commercial.
Yeah, I mean it's like Norman Schwarzkopf standing there and letting some in front of his entire army, letting some private with an AK-47 punk him.
Oh yeah, exactly. And yeah. Oh, can he hear me? Is he listening to me? Dude, no one on your bridge crew is listening to you. Who's gonna follow you into combat?
And he gives Poe enough time to power up, and then he goes, "Open fire!" It's like, oh my god, what am I watching?
So, what Navy doctrine for a carrier battle group is what? They have combat air patrols at all times, right?
Oh, exactly. Same thing with I would assume combined arms with the Army. You have Apaches overhead. I would assume.
We have standard operating procedure for a combined arms battalion is you have scouts ahead, you have helicopters ahead, and you have outside security. So why were there zero TIE fighters deployed? Okay, you want to make the argument that the First Order was so convinced of their superiority that what are they going to do with 4 capital ships against our entire fleet? But do you expect me to believe that no one in the First Order fleet said, "Hey, General, shouldn't we deploy fighters for protection?"
Actually, you see later where Poe's screaming in to take out all those turrets. It's like, launch TIE fighters. Where are the TIE fighters? It's like, oh my god, how the hell are you guys senior leadership in a fleet?
Yeah. So by that point, if we go by Force Awakens to Last Jedi, in the scroll, we're already told the First Order's taken over the galaxy. So they defeated the Republic. They've taken over the galaxy. How they could have entirely taken over the entire galaxy, but yet couldn't finish off 4 capital ships? It kills me.
Okay, now we've sat there and ripped apart the Empire, though the Resistance didn't cover themselves in glory at all.
Period. So we get it. We were introduced to the rebellion, with their hodgepodge fleet of everything they could strap a gun to. We've seen it. We've done it. Now we're introduced to the Star Bomber based off the B-29 that let's not even go into the physics of the bomb drop. Let's go into the tactics utilized. Your closer, your fighter escort is right on top of you.
That's not where it
World
should
War
be.
No, World War II tactics were your fighter escort went ahead of the bombers to draw out the fighters, so the fighters would never touch the bombers. No,
well, not
instead
only
we
that.
allow,
Well, not only that, they'd be ahead and they'd be to the flanks, and they'd have at least a couple top high behind to make sure no one got behind them.
Oh yeah. So we already know TIE fighters are going to outnumber you. So you don't have. Ultimately, it boiled down to there was no reason. The whole plan, and this will come in a little later when we talk about Holdo. The whole plan was a delaying action. Okay, I get it. You need to fight a rear guard so that you can evacuate, get off the planet, and get out. The whole point of that, I see.
Yeah, and just to cut you off right quick, Leia did one smart thing. She ordered Poe to fall back. She'd already got her people off. She was already loaded, and she wanted to get the hell out of there. And she told Poe, retreat. What's Poe do? Turns off the radio and disobeys. It's like, oh my God, what am I watching?
But I could argue that Leia approved the sacrifice of the bombers. It was only after they started getting blown out of the sky that she went, okay, we've done our job. It's time to go. Now, you want to fight a rear guard action. You don't use a weapon system like the bombers. You send your fighters to slow down everyone else so everybody can get out.
Some other people have always asked, where the hell are the B-Wings and the Y-Wings if you're going to fight a rear guard? Why send a very slow, very unarmored, very lightly defensively armed bomber to fight a rear guard?
Well, they had to save the B and the Y-Wings for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, but no. But the thing is, it's like to break down that battle, that sequence. I get what Rian Johnson was aiming for because he was a big fan of stuff like 12 O'Clock High. That stuff doesn't belong in Star Wars. It doesn't work.
Well, I mean, the trench fight in the trench battle in A New Hope was based off the Dam Busters.
Yeah.
So you can make that argument, but if you're a fan of 12 O'Clock High, you should have at least a basic understanding of how a B-17 operates in those type of circumstances.
Yeah, how heavily armed it was. A B-17 had a crew of over 10, had multiple 50 caliber machine guns. I mean, it wasn't just a quick, Messerschmitt's run in and just take on a B-17 and just kill it. No, it's you had to swarm the damn thing.
Well, and the thing of it is, you weren't just taking on one B-17, you were taking all 10. So you're talking over 150 caliber machine guns shooting in 360-degree direction.
Yeah, exactly. Instead, we had we had the Star Fortresses with like a couple of wing-mounted, one turret, and that was it. It's like, where are the rest of the guns for a ship this big?
Yeah, and if you know that they're not that heavily defended, why do you only send up a few A-wings and a few X-wings that ultimately you're just sending them to their deaths?
Yeah.
I understand it's a rear guard. You're going to lose some troops, but you and I both know that a rear guard isn't a forlorn hope. All you're supposed to be doing is just slowing down the enemy, and then you're pulling out.
Poe made the wrong choice.
Oh, Poe, absolutely, and they carry that on with the rest of the thing. But the fact is, he turned off his radio. He got bit by the gourd.
And he was given a direct order from a flag officer to retreat. He'd done his job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Leia in that moment made the right call. And she was seeing the bigger picture of conserving your forces, since you're not going to get a lot of reinforcements later.
No, and the fact that but on the same token, what Poe's like. You then talk to Holdo about a cocky fighter, the cocky, arrogant guy in a cockpit. So you put him in command, and then you're surprised when he acts cocky and arrogant and a fighter jock. You're being, you're contradicting yourself there.
But on the other hand, but the thing is, I know Poe's a cocky fighter jock, but he's a classically trained squadron commander. Why would he not follow his training?
Look at what he did in The Force Awakens. I mean, the fight, when we're first introduced to those X-Wings flying over the lake, to the battle at Starkiller Base. Do we see any indication at all of him being disobedient, insubordinate, mutinous? Do we see any of that in The Force Awakens?
No. I mean, granted, we see a cocky guy once he orders his X-Wings in, he basically just focuses on his own solo battle without controlling his forces. So he's kind of a lone wolf in that regard, but disobedient and mutinous? No.
I mean, Han Solo's cocky. I mean, come on. We Star Wars has been full of cocky pilots.
Luke was cocky at the battle.
Oh, yeah. He absolutely, but
he still followed orders.
Yeah, he still followed orders. So that has been one of my other issues with Last Jedi was characters didn't stay the same, with the exception of Rey.
Okay, moving off the battle, let's look at the aftermath, because we have to talk about Hux in front of his troops getting freaking wrecked by Snoke. Please tell me your thoughts on it.
So, as well as I, now granted, okay, this is Star Wars. How many times did we see Vader force choke somebody for failing him? But what he did to Hux, flat out, is not just punishing a failing. He humiliated him in front of the people he's supposed to lead. So you put a person,
and the thing is, that's a running thing because it happens in the Resistance too.
Oh yeah. But on the bridge, on the bridge of his ship, you're going to humiliate him in front of the people he's supposed to be leading. So once again, you put somebody in a position that, okay, maybe they shouldn't be in to begin with, but how do you handle it when they fail? You humiliate them, making it that much harder for them to continue to lead.
Yeah, well, question. You know this, and I know this. How do you deal with someone who's screwed up in the field? What do you do?
Well, first off, we make sure that we've got the right people in the right position. That's what training is for. If I've got a tank gunner who can't shoot straight, they're not going to be a gunner for very long. If I've got a loader who can't load the right round, they're not going to be a loader very, very long. You coach up or coach out. If they're not going to be able to handle it, you don't put them in that position, especially if you're going into combat. Because if they screw up, people are not coming home.
Okay, but let's say the guy's good, but he just made a stupid mistake. Because the way I was taught in the Marines, if a guy makes a mistake and you have to chew his ass, you don't do it in front of his peers or in front of the unit. No. You take him behind closed doors and then you chew his ass. Because everybody knows he's in trouble, but you're not embarrassing him in front of his unit.
Exactly. If you get an issue, you don't handle it in front of troops. You take them to the office behind the Humvee on the backside of the tank, and you rip them a new one, and you show them where they screwed up and help them fix it. Because now what's going to happen? You just laid them out in front of their subordinates. How are they going to be able to effectively lead at all? That's horrible leadership.
And then Leia does it and turns right around and does it to Poe on the bridge of the Mon Cal cruiser and slaps him on top of it. I mean, don't you remember George Patton?
And this is Leia. I've been running into this argument about keeping people informed, and we'll talk about that when we get to Holdo. What's one of the best scenes we've ever seen of Leia is when she's on Empire Strikes Back, giving a briefing for the Hoth evacuation. She's laying everything out for her team. Who's going to be covering who? Who's going to be doing what? One of the pilots is like, well, what's two X-Wings going to do against a Star Destroyer? She immediately responds, we're going to fire off a few shots of the ion cannon to clear your path. That's leadership. That's what a leader does.
And the pilot doesn't snap back. He just says, okay, got it. No. And then her subordinate guy's like, everybody got it, let's go. And everybody breaks and goes and does their job.
Yeah, that's what leadership is.
Throughout the entire battle, you see Leia running around, barking orders, trying to cover this, trying to hold that rear guard as long as possible to get as many people out. Yet she got pissed that Poe got some people killed. Now that's a loaded statement, and we'll dig into that. But it's just like watching Leia in Empire Strikes Back and then watching her in The Last Jedi. I'm just going, what am I watching?
They're not the same characters. It's and the whole argument. Well, this is 30 years later. That doesn't fly. A person's character doesn't change that much in 30. You know, they are who they are, and you can expect them to be who they are from that point on. So to expect them to change that much, it's unrealistic.
Okay, now let's talk about when Leia slaps him on the bridge and yelling at him for getting people killed. What was your take on that?
This is supposed to be the resistance, you know, the rebellion. These are supposed to be the republic. You don't treat people like that. You don't physically abuse your team. You don't you know, you're not harming. You're supposed to be better than the Empire and the First Order. What she did there was she overreacted. She handled it poorly. Yeah, did Poe fuck up? Pardon my French. Yes, he did. Did he deserve to get reamed? He needed it. But you don't do it in front of on the command bridge of the Raddus. You do it in your office. Let him come to terms with what it was he did. He's already going to be feeling horrible because his entire squadron got wiped out off of his battle plan.
Actually, but the thing is, though, but he comes walking in all cocky, like, "Hey, I just took out a dreadnought," and it's just like, dude, you just got your entire team killed.
Well, see, you've got to give him time to that's going to register. That's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, we did the same thing in Desert Storm. Oh my God, you know, we wiped out the Tawakan division of the Republican Guard. Oh, wait, we had friendly fire incidents. You know, he's going to have that glory moment, but then when he goes back into the ready room for the debrief and he's looking at all those empty seats, he's going to know exactly what happened and why. You've got to let the person come to terms with what's going on.
Yeah, but I looked at it this way. On the one hand, yes, he took out a dreadnought, but I also look at it as, and Leia, even when she was reaming him, horribly framed it. It's like, look, I'm glad you took out a dreadnought, but you took out most of my starfighter complement. I can't easily replace them. You have to stop and think about, when I give you a damn order, I expect it to obey because I have a reason. I mean, the whole framing of the argument was just terrible. Slapping your troops doesn't do anything. And then in the middle of the argument, they get jumped by the First Order, and he goes, "Hey, can I just get back on the next one and go blow thing up?" And she says, "Permission granted," like nothing happened.
Exactly, and she says, "You know, we don't need any more cockiness in the you know, we don't need you flying around blowing stuff up." Oh yeah, go get back in your cockpit and blow stuff up. I know you wrote that. I know it was written to get a laugh, but for me, it was kind of like,
I just yelled at you for doing this stupid shit. Now I'm telling you to go do more stupid shit.
Yeah. I oh, you just ran over, you know, all those civilians in your Abrams. Don't do it. Oh, you know what? Go run over those civilians in your Abrams. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but just the way she phrased it, the way she did it, I mean, yes, people are going to die. Even if he just done his rear guard and bailed out, he still would have lost a few fighters. It was going to happen. It's just like she just expected him to go out there, lose no casualties, and come back, you know, safe and sound. It's like, you're a general. When you commit forces to a battle, they're going to be empty seats. You're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. I mean, there's this great movie, Gettysburg, that has Martin Sheen as Robert E. Lee. And he's talking to one of his generals, and it's like, to be a good general, you have to love your army, but you also have to be prepared and committed to ordering that thing to die.
Yeah, you have to love the army, but you have to understand you've got to order what you love to death, and that's the truth. So, you know, you especially in a rear guard, you have to expect casualties. The entire loss of a squadron, that's a different animal.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's something that also bothered me was how few fighters were on that damn capital ship, and the Raddus is bigger than Home 1. Home 1 could carry 100 fighters. Where the hell are all Leia's fighters? You're telling me that's all the Resistance could scrape up? That's just bad logistics.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has really troubled me. I get she was funneling stuff from the Republic, but the fact that the Resistance had representation with the New Republic, where was it at? I mean, even the Rebellion had a slightly, had larger fleet than what we've seen so far of the Resistance.
Well, that goes into the politics, and I don't know if you knew this. One, the Imperial capital planet was Coruscant, right?
Yep.
The Rebellion before this movie, before even The Force Awakens, never retook Coruscant. Ever.
Now, I thought they still, the end of the special edition, Return of the Jedi, showed them not taking, but the celebrations on Coruscant.
Yeah, which immediately, but the thing is, if you go into the books, it immediately got stomped out by whatever Imperial forces were there and cracked down upon. The thing is, that capital planet that we saw, Starkiller Base, blah, blah, that was the new capital of the Republic, and it was somewhere in the mid-rim.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because if we go with the EU, even the Thrawn trilogy, it took them 5 years from Endor before they finally took Coruscant.
Actually, no, they took it in the first couple of years. They were settling in on Coruscant at the beginning of Thrawn, because during Wedge's Gamble, in Wedge's Gamble, they just taken it, and that was like a couple of years. It was like a year and a half before Thrawn, but we're getting a little off topic there. But anyways, but it just boggles my mind, because what Mon Mothma did is she went back to the Ruusan Reformation and completely demilitarized, except for a few military units. That's why the New Republic military was almost non-existent, and the Resistance, the Radishes, had just been, recommissioned and given to the Resistance, because it had been decommissioned right after the Battle of Jakku.
Yeah, I mean, when and nobody knows where they lost one of the Starhawks at Jakku, but nobody knows where the other two have disappeared to.
Yeah,
they were just kind of forgotten about.
But
Mon Mothma, this is the thing. I mean, we could go into the political side. Mon Mothma was not a gunfighter. Though she orchestrated from Rogue One, you see how she orchestrated the fight.
She was the political leader. She wasn't the general.
She was not a military. She did not want a big, strong military, because she was in fear of another empire coming out of it.
But the funny thing is, if you go back to the EU, guess what Mon Mothma did? Kept the military around, because she realized she had no policing force.
Exactly. She still had to control the galaxy and deal with the
and there was no Jedi around for her to lean on. It was only Luke Skywalker at that point.
Man. All right, off topic again.
Yeah. But anyways, going back, let's move along here. Let's look at how stupid it was when Kylo Ren attacked. First off, it's just a construction thing, and I'm not even going to dig into that. But to have her, General Leia, Admiral Akbar on the bridge together during a major attack. How dumb was that?
Your entire leadership is in apparently the single weakest point on your capital ship. That 4 proton torpedoes fired by 2 TIE fighters could decapitate the entire Resistance. Yeah. Even in Home 1, the command center was in the middle of the ship.
Buried.
They weren't on the bridge.
Well, thing is, Akbar was on the bridge and you could see the battle, but that was just him on the bridge. His CIC was buried in the guts of the ship. And quite frankly, he should have been in the CIC, not the bridge itself. The captain.
The Battle of Endor brief scene, that was, that CIC was deep in the center of Home 1. Yeah. So we've got everybody on the bridge of the Radis with, granted, okay, no cover again, but yet, you've got a hangar full of fighters sitting there until they got destroyed by a couple of proton torpedoes. And
where was the hangar shields? Why weren't they up?
Why weren't they up? Why was Kylo able to fly with a silencer down almost the exact entire length of the ship?
And completely bomb the entirety of what fighters they had left.
The Resistance, every one of their fighters is jump capable. It has hyperdrive. Yet, once again, we have no combat air patrol. We have no fighters circling around the fleet. We have none of this. So Ren can jump in with the silencer and two TIE fighters and decapitate the Resistance.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we're just supposed to accept this as, oh, great, yeah, great storytelling. Way to go, Ryan.
And I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. The chase. How dumb was the chase?
So you expect me to believe that as large as the First Order fleet is,
that's chasing them, not even around the galaxy.
No. You're chasing them in sublight. You're chasing them in real space. You can't have one or two Star Destroyers jump in front of them. You know they're not going to maneuver. You know they're not going anywhere. You're just going to chase them.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. But if Ryan Jensen had done that, the movie would be over for the Resistance, which just shows bad writing.
Well, the movie was over. I'm sorry, the movie was over for the Resistance. What blows me away is the ineptitude of the Resistance is only superseded by the ineptitude of the First Order. The only reason those four capital ships lasted as long as they did is because the First Order is even more inept than they are.
And I'm just wondering how people, from like colonels and generals and captains and admirals and up, are this freaking stupid.
In our military, our sergeants question our lieutenants. Our lieutenants question our captains. Our captains question our majors and lieutenant colonels. We are a military that is a group of individuals coming together for a common goal. I took as much information from my tank gunner and my team as my platoon sergeant and platoon leader took from me, because more eyes see a better way to handle the objective.
We're going to question. And you have no idea in the intel field. I'll tell you a quick side story right quick. I was at a strategic site. I can't name the system I was working on or anything like that, but let's just say it went a little haywire and I'm sitting there trying to fix it. I had a deputy director of the National Security Agency call me, a 3-star general, wondering why his machine wasn't working and what I was doing to fix it. Talk about a corporal deer in the headlight moment, having to speak to a 3-star general trying to explain why his system isn't working over the phone. Because I'm in England and he's somewhere in Fort Meade.
But, this is the way we fight. Our sergeants are the backbone of the military. But everyone questions, and the rebellion and the resistance. Here's another example. Empire Strikes Back. What are our X-wings going to do against a Star Destroyer? That we are expected to pose questions like that.
Yeah.
Here's the Resistance, where it's my way or the highway. This is the way we're doing it, and that's it. I'm not going to take any suggestions. I'm not taking anything else. This is it. Isn't that the Empire?
Okay, now let's dig into the whole though, because we've been kind of ignoring the white elephant in the room, but let's dig in the whole though. And the thing is, it's not that she's a woman. Holdo could have been a man. I'd still hate the character of Holdo.
No, number one, it kills me that the immediate reaction from the defenders is you're racist and you're sexist. I don't care that Holdo was a woman. My issue is that she's the worst person to ever put into a leadership position. She's arrogant. She's condescending. She humiliates her own team members. And her biggest flaw, this is the thing that kills me, is it's her fault that Poe led the mutiny. If she had kept him informed, had flat out just said, look, our plan, we're going to get to Crate, we're going to offload, and we're going to hold up in this defensive position until reinforcements show up. What do you think Poe's going to do at that point?
Okay, what can I do to help?
Yeah, what can we do? What can I do?
Or
what's the
she didn't even have to go that far, because this is what I've tried to tell people. All Holdo had to do, if she wanted to compartmentalize information to herself, also, even though this is the man who destroyed Starkiller Base, notwithstanding, but this is all she had to do is, look, we're being chased, we're being tracked. I think we may have a traitor aboard. I cannot release information, but I have a plan. I need you to start fueling shuttles and getting ready to offload. I can't tell you where we're going, but just stand by. I got this. I just need you to follow orders and trust me.
Give him a job. Keep him busy, so he's not going to come up with a mutiny.
Yeah, I mean, what's said about the military? Idle hands are the hands of the devil. I might have misquoted that, but
no, but it's the honest to God truth. You're in this position where you have Poe, who is a cocky hotshot pilot who's just been slapped by by General Leia, the
demoted.
One person that he looks up to. He's just been hammered down by Holdo, so his ego is bruised. He's going to be like, okay, I need to redeem my ego here. What can I do? I don't like what they're doing. I have no idea what it is they're doing. They're not telling me. I think they're screwing up. Oh, let's get a bunch of people together and let's start doing this the right way. If you keep him busy, let him put together the shuttles. Let him try and figure out what fighters are still salvageable, what pilots we have available. Anything is going to keep him too busy to start thinking about taking matters into his own hands.
Exactly. Holdo just being that condescending. I mean, I don't care that she has purple hair. It doesn't bother me. But that dress. Oh my God. What? Put her in a damn uniform.
Was it award night at on the Radis? It was casual Friday. Everyone else in uniform. How is this? How is your admiral not? And then,
I mean, hell, Leia wasn't even a general's uniform, and that kind of bugged me. Even it's like Leia on Hoth. Granted, it wasn't quite military, but it was military-esque.
It was military enough. She was at least dressed like most everybody else. She looked like she was part of the rebellion.
Yes.
And, and when we're introduced to Holdo, Poe is like, oh, so that's Holdo?
Of this battle? We're supposed to know. Well, he knows her record. Well, it's like, dude, Holdo that won that battle? And the alien's like, yeah. He's like, okay, he knows who she is and he knows her record. But the first thing she does, I mean, hell, like when she goes like, so what's our plan? If I'd have been Holdo, it's like, Captain, I just took command. I still have to figure out what Leia was planning. I still have to figure out our status, our sit rep, how many fighters I have, how much fuel I have, what's the status of the Radis, the other ships. I got to figure out all my material before I make a complete decision. So please, stand by. There's a meeting at this time. I want you there. And I want a briefing of all our military stores for fighters and small arms. Give them a job.
Exactly. So it's a change of command. Not only is it a change of command, but it's a change of command under battlefield conditions. So you have a very small time frame in which to get all your ducks in a row and establish yourself as a commander. So you are immediately taking the reins from Admiral Akbar and Princess Leia. Those are huge shoes you've got to fill. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that your team is well aware that you're the one in charge, but you don't want them to think like you were saying. You don't want to sit there and go, well, I need to figure this out and figure this out and figure this out. You need to come across as that you know it, but you got to delay things because you don't know all the information. You still need to bring that together. So Poe was your squadron commander. Given how few ranks are left, put him back in that position, get him doing logistical work on his squadron, finding out how many pilots, how many ships, what fuel status, whatever weapon status we're at. And then that gives you that breathing room so you can put your command detail together and take command. So when you all come back together, you know where you're at, you know how to drive your team knows how to drive their team, and you're moving on. Losing the person ahead of you we all train for that. You train to do the job of the man in front of you and behind you. As a tank gunner, I was learning my tank commander's position. As a driver, I was learning loader and gunner. As a loader, I was learning driver, gunner, commander. In case somebody dropped out, I needed to fill in those spots. That's what we do.
As a 6-man SIG and support team, everybody needs to know their job, know their position, know setup. If the team leader and ATL are gone, who's going to step up to take command and keep the team going? You know, small unit tactics, it still matters on larger unit tactics.
Yeah. You know, just because you've lost a person doesn't mean the mission ends. You still have a mission to accomplish, to complete. So you got to move on. You got to drive on. And when Holdo took command, instead of establishing herself as a good leader and trusting of her subordinates, she put everything on herself, cut everybody out of it, and the entire system ground to a halt.
No, it didn't even ground to the halt. It broke down and fell apart.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that the one time you immediately take command of the ship, the very next thing you're dealing with is the fact that you're handling a mutiny. The mutiny is not because of them; it's because of your leadership.
Well, and the thing is, it wasn't like the mutinies right off the bat, because Poe goes, look, we've just lost 2 more ships after the other one got destroyed for us jumping. All you've done is evacuate him and left the commander for some reason who couldn't put the ship on auto and join his crew, which was dumb.
Or you couldn't turn that, you couldn't turn that ship around and send it into hyperspace and suicide an empty ship against a Star Destroyer. Oh wait, no, that we cover that later.
Oh God, that's a big breach of tactics, but we will tackle that. But
well, I've got this thing. This has been brewing with me ever since I saw the movie. I am a huge Akbar fan. I have loved Admiral Akbar through Return of the Jedi and into the EU. So when we get to the hyperspace ram, you're gonna love this.
Okay. But let's see, what else can we tackle as far as tactics and leadership up to that point? But even at one point where it's like Poe is literally screaming at Holdo, we've lost ships, we're low on supplies, you're driving us to God knows where, we are about to lose everything. Tell us you have a plan. And she comes out with a saying that Leia likes to say and think that's going to mollify him and the crew, and I'm just sitting there going, what are you doing? If you don't want to tell them all the plan, tell them a part of the plan. And apparently her Colonel XO knew the plan. Why couldn't the guy who killed Star Killer Base? You can trust this guy. He has gone out on the line for you. Tell him the damn plan and just tell him to keep his mouth shut. He'll do it. Because we're going to jump ahead just a little bit for a second, but when Leia says the plan was to do this, and Poe goes, oh, that's a good plan. You're just sitting there going, oh my God.
Why weren't we briefed on this plan to begin with? That whole time, instead of Poe going off and doing his little thing, he could have been putting his strengths to work to support the plan. Instead of sending Rose and Finn off to try and find the decoder so they could sneak onto the supremacy and destroy the tracker and then lead the mutiny, and it's just all of that was just so ridiculous.
And Holdo's reaction to Poe telling her that plan, I was mind boggled. The guy showed the initiative to try to give you a chance to slip away undetected, and you're lambasting him for it. Now, granted, Poe should have gone to her with the plan in the first place, which shows a gigantic breakdown of the chain of command already.
Well, he didn't trust Holdo. He's not going to break her in on. She's not willing to trust him on her plan. He's thinking, why am I going to trust her with mine? If she can't handle it, if she's because as far as he's concerned, he's seeing a vacuum in leadership, and nature abhors a vacuum, so he's going to fill it. So he's going to do what his strengths are. He's going to put together some rash plan, get people into the cockpit, send them off to wherever they need to do what they to blow stuff up, because that's what fighter jocks do. Instead of Holdo establishing that trust, building her team. And I granted, okay, in battlefield conditions, it's not an easy thing to do, but you have to do it. Otherwise, this is what you get. And you can't, I don't necessarily hold Poe accountable. He did some stupid shit and made some bad choices, but he had no leadership to fall back on.
He made the
did
best.
what he thought was best
Patton, again, I like to go back to Patton. He said it best. A bad plan now is better than a perfect plan later. And in absence of any plan, a bad plan is better than nothing.
Yeah, a good plan now is better than a perfect plan next week. And in absence of a good plan, a bad plan is better than nothing. And that's what we got. But unfortunately, in the case of the Resistance, every one of these plans was bad, and all it did was doom the Resistance. Even with the Death Star coming down on the rebellion on Yavin 4, which would have meant the end of the rebellion, we didn't see the rebellion acting like this. This is modern day writing for a modern day audience. It's the High School Musical. Everybody's biting everybody else. This is what we call drama today.
And that does not work in a military or even at the Resistance. I call them paramilitary setting. You have to have a chain of command. You have to have respect up and down it. And everybody has to know their job and do it. You can't have a breakdown like this. And it was just, like you said earlier, dumb luck that the First Order is even more incompetent than the Resistance.
Exactly. Why have ranks if no one is going to pay attention to rank? There's nothing. A sergeant doesn't mean anything to a private, who doesn't mean anything to a colonel. The reason we have rank and who to go to in.
Okay, now let's get to where they're actually offloading to get into orbit of Crate. And Poe's been done, he's being loaded up, and we have the talk between Holdo and Leia. How dumb was it?
Oh, God. So our whole plan was to know we can hold up. Now we're praying that the First Order doesn't see us unloading transports. Your plan hinges upon a factor of no one seeing you actually do this. When you've got fleet standing by, watching what you're doing, watching every move, your play is that they have their eyes closed at this one moment. Yeah, and you're a rear admiral who's in charge of a fleet.
Well, no, she's a vice admiral, which is a step worse.
Well, which is even worse. So you're literally, and you're praying and hoping that somebody's stupider than you at a crucial moment. This is where.
But at this point, Hux had completely been dumber than Holdo at this point.
She hasn't shown any grasp at all since the minute she took command. So why at the most crucial point would it suddenly appear? What would have been to turn the Raddus around, face against the supremacy in the First Order, make it look like you're moving an attack position all the time. You're offloading troops. Great. They're not going to be focusing on the transports. They're going to be focusing on the attacking capital ship. Is the capital ship going to last very long? No. But it's going to last, your transports are going to last a hell of a lot longer while the Raddus is being shot at rather than them making their way to Crate. So, and then it takes Holdo, even while she's sitting watching the transports getting blown out of the sky, she delays it even more. She continues to just watch it, and then she gets angry and then acts.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I mean, the minute I would have seen my shuttle start getting shot, you know what I've done? Put the Raddus long ways, shield as strong as I can get in between me and the transports, and be a moving shield.
The way the capital ships in Star Wars are built, are broadside tactics. I would have turned that ship 90 degrees and allowed those shields to absorb as much damage while I'm laying down as much fire as I possibly can. Distract them as much as you can. Now, here is my issue. Admiral Akbar has been and is one of the most popular characters in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a trap, is a giant meme that's been around for 25 years. It's supposed to be about original characters passing the torch to new trilogy characters. Option, you have a chance here. Akbar to the Raddus to sacrifice himself. So whoever, Poe, take over the fleet, whoever you choose, can rebuild the fleet. Let Akbar go down the ship fighting strong instead of having him sucked up in space in a background where nobody will really see him, and he's gone.
Well,
and then gets overshadowed by Harry Potter.
Have you seen Ivan Ortega's re-edit of The Last Jedi?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
He does exactly that. He has Akbar still in command, and he's the one that does the hyperspace ram and saves to the Resistance.
And, even with the stupidity of the hyperspace ram, I'll let that one go. Let Akbar sacrifice himself. Die
in a blaze of glory.
People he loves. And the resistance that he is for. No. Get him sucked into space. Let Holdo and do this thing that we've never seen before. Okay.
And
so if hyperspace
and it completely invalidates all tactics used in the previous 6 movies.
Yeah. Why attack the Death Star with your stunt fighters when you could just send a net at hyperspace into it and destroy it?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're telling me the rebellion didn't have a troop ship they could have sacrificed to ram the Death Star?
Twice. Death Star 1 and the Death Star 2. Now, this would have been very cliche and very sappy, but this is what I would have done. Instead of her going to hyperspace and doing the ram, let her ram the supremacy of the rash. She throws all the power to the shields and the engines, turns off everything else, to the forward shields and the engines, rams into the supremacy, then throws the hyperdrive and blows up her ship, and then causes that massive damage. That would have been believable.
That's even better. And you know what? Honestly, cliche and sappy, it's like that's never actually been done in Star Wars before.
Yeah.
Let us see it. Let us get behind these characters. This has been my big complaint from the beginning is I got behind Luke Skywalker. I got behind Han Solo and Princess Leia. I wanted to see them win.
I got behind even Wedge Antilles. Even the side characters like Wedge, Akbar, Lando, you could get behind them.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, Nyum on in the cockpit with Lando with the how do you not love these characters? And the most famous characters of the series had a total of like 4 lines, and it's Boba Fett. He loves Boba Fett. Created an entire cosplay around Mandalorians of somebody who's in the background.
Exactly.
Who has 3 lines, the entire movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, it used to be, this is funny, I just went and saw a movie and trailer for Rise of Skywalker. I used to get excited to see the Lucasfilm logo come on screen. And now I'm just, it's okay.
It's bad.
I just can't get into it.
Yeah, in the last couple of movies I went to go see, they had the D23 trailer, and the entire first half of the trailer is stuff I've already seen before. Like, hey, it's still Star Wars. It's like, if you have to do this to convince me it's still Star Wars, you have failed your job.
You know what? They told that the past is over, it's dead, leave it alone. And yet the new marketing, wings, Y wings, Millennium Falcon, Lando Calrissian, the the prequel original trilogy, it's all the nostalgia to try to get those of us like myself at 5 years old standing in line to see wasn't even a New Hope in 1977, who still remember the standing of claps in the entire theater sold out after 2 years when Luke destroyed the Death Star. That is Star Wars.
Or a great story I saw behind the scenes when it was shown for the first time ever in Japan. They get through the entire showing of the movie, and when the credits roll, it is dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. And I remember the Lucasfilm guys are going, "Oh my God, this is so bad. This is so bad. We have failed so bad." And this Japanese guy happened to be standing there. He's like, "No, no, 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 no. Dude, it's okay. Dude, you just got the greatest applause you could ever get from a Japanese crowd. They are so enthralled with the movie, they are stunned to silence. Very few movies in Japan have ever pulled that off."
There's a reason that Lucas was nominated, Star Wars was nominated for 11 Academy Awards for a movie that was, as they call it, about space wizards. Science fiction to that point was a laughing stock. Yeah. You had a few occasional, and you had, Day the Earth Stood Still. Sci-fi is where die. And Lucas completely changed that and gave us this incredible, series that has lasted 40 years. And Disney's taken it over, and they're choking it to death, and it kills me.
Yeah, but getting back on track now. Yeah. Let's take, because I'm gonna skip the whole Phasma thing because she's just a joke. I don't even consider her an officer.
Not a character, and they put so much into her. Yeah.
And I felt so bad for Gwendolyn Christie because she's actually a fantastic actress.
She was one of my favorite characters in
Game of Thrones.
Brienne of Tarth. And Game was awesome. I loved her from the minute they introduced her as Phasma and Force Awakens. I was like, ooh, yes, and look at that cool armor. And then it was
a big fat nothing burger.
A big fat nothing.
But anyways, let's talk about the hilarity of the Battle of Crate.
So the Resistance obviously never, or they would have read about the Battle of Hoth and what the rebellion did when they tried to stand up against a full-on ground assault of the Empire.
And on top of it, Finn, and how is it that Finn instantly recognizes, and the guy's a janitor, by the way. Well, I guess he could have seen the specs because he's a janitor, and janitors tend to see a lot of stuff. How would he know that was miniature? How does he know so much technical stuff? Like that mini super laser. How does he know all this stuff?
He knows he knows exactly where to go to find the hyperspace tracker. He knows all about the siege weapon, and he's great at plumbing while we're at it. Yeah. Because reasons? There was no reason. And ultimately, did they even need to deploy that cannon? With the Goliaths and the AT-AT, everything they needed to crush whatever was left of the Resistance. There was
well. First off, they go out in those hysterically bad speeders. I mean, I don't know what the hell Poe was thinking on that one. Where he puts some guys out in the trenches and then flies those ridiculous speeders. And in the beginning, at least, Kylo Ren shows some good combined arm tactics. He's got air cover.
Yeah.
And then Kylo Ren loses his mind as soon as the Millennium Falcon shows up, which I did not understand.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you doing? You need about 4 fighters to go chase that thing. Keep all the rest of the fighters on the attack.
So you're a general where you have technical technological, numerical superiority. You're attacking an entrenched foe without heavy weapons. What do? Well, you just go straight at them. There's no reason to try and flank them. There's no reason to do anything. Just utilize your and crush your opponent. You know,
Yeah.
the mission of armor is to close with and destroy the enemy through the use of maneuver, firepower, and shock effect. Firepower, 120 millimeter speed bore main gun. Maneuver, you've got 72 tons of armor that can travel 55 miles an hour cross country. And shock effect is when you're that little infantryman sitting in your foxhole with an AK-47 and you're just looking at 72 tons of armor barreling down on you, and you suddenly start feeling something warm going down your leg. That's shock effect. You don't want to be anywhere. Yeah, you don't want to be anywhere in front of that thing when it's doing its job. And that's what the First Order had. It was the first time we'd actually seen the First Order do something that wasn't inept. They brought in the Goliaths and the AT-ATs, started their assault, and then our
I want to break this
unstable.
I want to break this. Yeah. But I want to break this down. I want to break this down from the resistance standpoint. You have got a big freaking door. Yes, it's going to get blown open at some way by that big super laser. So what?
Yep.
Why do you need to go outside and fight them? You've got tunnels. You can funnel a numerically superior enemy into a ground of your choosing without all of their armor and just sit there and wail on them.
Yeah.
Instead, they fight them on open ground.
Yeah. Your job is to be an insurgency. You can't face them one-on-one, face-to-face against their. So go into the tunnels, go into the hills, hit up. I mean, the Goliaths aren't going up that cliff. So get into the mountains. Find all you need to do is buy time until reinforcements show up, or you can evacuate. No, we're going to dig trenches and we're going to stand toe to toe with our lasers against your mass. Yeah, that worked really well for the Light Brigade in the Battle of the Crimea.
Yeah, it was just
for the British at Verdun. It's just
and then it's just like, and then Poe, when he starts seeing all them people getting blasted out of spears, finally realizes, oh shit, maybe this isn't gonna work, and calls a retreat, and then he learns his lesson. It's like,
hey, savior of the resistance.
But of course, it's not a tactic, but it's one of the biggest pet peeves is when Finn decides he's gonna man up and take out the super laser, and gets completely cock-blocked by Rose. I was just like, this man was about.
We're not gonna win by killing our enemies, but by saving the ones we love. Oh, should we all hug and sing Kumbaya? Because that's how wars are won.
And the entire time they're having this conversation, it's like, why isn't a gorilla pointing its guns at them and going, die?
Yeah, I was like, where are our stormtroopers? There's no way in this case you're going to miss them. Just please pull the trigger. Pull the trigger.
And then somehow Finn gets Rose the entire way on open ground back to the door, and no one shoots them.
During the entire time that the Goliaths and the AT-ATs are blasting Luke, they're able to make their way with no one engaging them. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe Rose is is actually a Jedi, and
I guess
the Force run them back to the base with nobody seeing. I mean, she is now a commander of the Resistance.
Yeah, at this point. But anyways, that kind of just wraps up the movie. But that just kind of wraps up the movie, because we don't need to go into the whole ending, because, well, there's no tactics in that. It was just run away and pray to God we make it.
Yeah.
And pray to God, Luke.
Follow the crystal foxes.
Yeah.
Follow the crystal foxes and pray that no TIE fighters happen to be coming to load the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. It's well, at that point, the Falcon had basically pulled what it did in Empire Strikes Back in the asteroid field and gotten rid of them all.
Yeah. There was only the 8 the Star Destroyers and the 3/4 of the supremacy that was still intact. There was only 8 TIE fighters all set.
Yeah.
That was all they could fall.
Yeah.
That's all they could field at that point.
Okay.
Maybe the First Order union driven, and you know, I don't know. When you have an opportunity to fix your enemy and destroy them
in detail,
that you can to destroy them. That's what we did in Desert Storm. We found the Republican Guard. We tied them down. We blasted them with everything we had, from M16s to Bradleys to Abrams to F16s to A10s to B-2s. We hit everything.
Including the kitchen sink.
Order, yeah, we'll send down a few things and we'll send down some troops. We'll get them. And you were able to take over the entire galaxy with this kind of attitude.
How?
Okay. Yay. How? We believe that the Empire could control the entire galaxy. The first destroyer in A New Hope to the Death Star, to the introduction of the Super Star Destroyer in Empire Strikes Back, we believed the Empire
was in control,
huge and big and in control, and the rebellion was literally holding on by the skin of their. Yeah, we believed in it, and of course, because we support underdogs, we're going to support the good guy. We're going to watch them fight. But it for the Battle of Endor, it could have gone. They could have lost. They should have lost the Battle of Endor. Had it not been for the death of Palpatine, they probably would have lost the Battle of Endor. But as they covered that in the books, Palpatine and Vader were controlling through the use of the dark side and the Force. They were manipulating their fleet maneuvers. So when Palpatine was killed, their fleet stopped functioning. Apart. Yeah, everything fell apart. But even then, like I said, if we go by EU and the Thrawn trilogy, it's still from Battle of Endor. Took them 2 years before they got to Coruscant, and it took them another 3 before they completely.
At that day, it took them almost 25 years from the time of the Battle of Yavin till they routed the Empire and pushed them into the Imperial Remnant in the corner of the galaxy, not the core, but out in the outer rim somewhere, and signed an accord and said, "Okay, we're in charge." It took them 25 years,
and yet the First Order is able to do it. Look at the movies. The movies take place. Yeah, they literally take place right after each other. We have no sense of time passage. Rey has worn the same since the minute she got into the Millennium Falcon. She met Luke at Octo. She's worn the same thing. Yeah. There's been no passage of time between A New Hope and Empire, and between Empire and Return of the Jedi. There's years between those movies where Luke is training and learning and fighting.
In between A New Hope and Empire, I think the time given was 3 years, and Empire Strikes Back took place over the course of a few months. Luke was with Yoda for like 8 to 12 weeks, because from where
the thing, the Millennium Falcon had no hyperdrive. She was moving at
sublight
to get from the asteroid field to Bespin. You're not doing that in 12 hours. It's not a drive down the street to go grocery shopping.
That took months
by the Imperial.
That took months.
She's going on sublight engine.
And hell, they were. Oh, and hell, there on Cloud City, I think, for like a day or two before the Empire showed up.
Well, the Empire was there, showed up. It was a day or two before before they saw them, because remember 3PO goes into the into that off room. He hears the arc blasted by, and Lando does say that they got here just before you did. So the Empire was already there. It was like a day or two before Lando took them to see Vader at dinner.
Well, I think some of the Imperials were there. I don't think Vader had gotten there until right before that meeting.
Exactly. We don't know who was there prior. We know Boba Fett was obviously very close. We know there were some stormtroopers because that's who blasted 3PO. But it probably took a little time before Vader showed up, and then they brought everything together. We're still talking a passage of time. We've had no passage of time between Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
Yeah,
all of this has taken place in.
And the thing is, in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi was another year, at least.
Yeah, because of the Empire, which is canon. That was one of the few EU things that Lucas approved as canon. So we have that time when of Shadows of the Empire, and we see Luke truly becoming a Jedi Knight. That's when he's training, and
him creating his own lightsaber. He does a couple of missions with Rogue Squadrons. He goes after Xizor on Coruscant, no less, under the nose of the Empire.
Under the nose of the Empire. He steals his green kyber crystal.
But anyways,
so
to wrap this up,
and
to summarize, The Last Jedi was just a complete, and part of my parlance, clusterfuck of bad decisions, bad tactics, and bad leadership.
If we were to use this as a training tool, under the to do, take notes,
absolutely.
Because this is not how you lead people. These are not the tactics you employ in even a non-combat situation. This is you need to be able to try. Number one, you're first and foremost informed. You need to tell them everything, but you need to tell them what applies to them and their specific. Keep people busy, and you keep them moving and motivated. It makes your life. And all Holdo had to do was just get on her side and give him, and it would have been a different animal. I love Laura Dern as an actress.
I loved her in Jurassic Park.
Oh, Jurassic Park. I mean, I just watched Big Little Lies, that series. She's in HBO. She's awesome in that. I loved her forever. Seeing Holdo become a character. I would love to and train Poe, who needed it, from being a hotshot pilot to squadron commander. He needed to go from being a lone wolf to a CAG, a combat air group commander.
Yeah, exactly.
He needed that, but we needed to, and the way they handled it, humiliating him, physically, debasing him, doing nothing but just passing him down, and this was the worst thing you could have done. He approved his plan to attack that dreadnought.
Yeah.
And he shut off the radio, but Tyler approved his plan, and he wanted to execute it and see it work. Every commander does. But we had an opportunity to get a character that I could have wrapped myself around and gone down with Akbar and Radis as great battlefield commanders. Instead, it was just, who are you? Why? How did you ever become an admiral? How did Rose become a commander? These people shouldn't have been in these positions. It never would have happened in real life.
Yeah, totally agree. You summed it up great for me. All right, well, we've been kind of hammering this home for an hour and 14, so I think it's about time to wrap this up.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't have a lot of people watching it, but I'll make sure it gets the rounds and shout it out and do some other stuff with it. But it was great having you on. I prefer, instead of just having Twitter where you only have so much room to write, to actually talk, because you get to do so much more.
That's great. Let's do this again. Let's you and I, we both are sci-fi guys. Let's pick some historical movies. We could do this again. Let's break down some. We could talk
Absolutely.
Black Hawk Down. We could do Zulu. We could do Band of Brothers.
Battle of the Bulge.
Let's do Battle of the Bulge with the Spanish military and M46s for King Tigers, but Robert Shaw, one of the best roles he ever did.
Yep. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to do this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll do this again. And to anybody who did show up or happens to watch this later, thank you for checking it out. This was Travis and Jeff the Iron Wolf, and we'll catch you again for another one.
Take it easy.
And